Raleigh, North Carolina. Mother can't homeschool her children. So we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back with maybe just a little bit more news and go to the phones. We want this to be a forum for the listener. If you can call in, discuss any of these topics that we've been through. We had a lot of news we wanted to cover today. Great interview with Larry Pratt. So again, therealnewsradio.com is our website, and we'll be back on here on WSIC 1400, WDSL 1520. Alright, we are back on the Real News. We really had a lot of news we wanted to cover today, and we're going to go to the phone shortly. So let me go ahead and turn it to you, Brian, and give us that last news segment.
Israel tasked with spying on Americans. The U.S. entrusted Israeli intelligence services with spying on Americans after the 9/11 attacks, an intelligence journalist has revealed. In the aftermath of the September 11th attacks, the White House launched a massive program to spy on millions of Americans. Best-selling author James Bramford has claimed in his latest book, The Shadow Factory, the ultra-secret NSA from 9/11 to eavesdropping on America. Bramford is a celebrated journalist who writes about U.S. intelligence agencies. According to the author, the National Security Agency, the NSA, was tasked with monitoring billions of private hardline, cell, and wireless telephone conversations, text, email, and instant internet messages, web page histories, faxes, and computer hard drives. The two largest American telecom companies, AT&T and Verizon, collaborated with the NSA, assisting the federal government in eavesdropping on their customers. Bramford maintains that the bugging of the entire two networks carried billions of American communications every day were handed to two companies founded in Israel. Viren and Naras, two Israeli corporations, are super intrusive, conducting mass surveillance on both international and domestic communications 24/7, sifting traffic at key internet gateways around the U.S., Bramford claims. The greatest potential beneficiaries of this marriage between Israeli eavesdroppers and America's increasingly centralized telecom grid are Israel's intelligence agencies, Bramford writes. According to Electronic Infidia, there has yet to be a congressional oversight of the Israeli intelligence-linked firms operating in the heart of the U.S. security establishment.
Interesting.
I mean, if anything at all, the United States should be exclusively an American company, shouldn't it be? Intelligence?
Well, you would think. All right, we're going to go ahead and go to the phone calls. One reason we wanted 2 hours was so that we could take more phone calls from the listeners. It's a forum for the listener. You can speak on these topics, anything that's on your mind, government-related. Our phone numbers are 704-873-1400. Our Davie County number is 336-499-0681. I urge you to go ahead and call in. Don't wait till the last minute, because the last 5 minutes we have the poll and a few things that we would like to get in at the very end. You're on the Real News.
Good morning, Brian. This is Brad.
Hey, how you doing, sir?
I'd like to share a couple observations I've had traveling on my job. You mentioned earlier the tent towns that are popping up, but also you'd be amazed at how many RV parks now are over-flooded with people that have lost their homes or moved into the RV parks and RVs.
Interesting.
This I've seen with my own eyes as I travel. Another thing, I work in a market that the gun shows is one of the venues that I work in. They're not only selling ammunition by the crate, they're loading it up with forklifts, taking it out to people's vehicles. It's amazing the amount of ammo that goes out on a weekend at a regular gun show. And this is not because it's hard to find, it's because people are finding the need greater to have this. They're afraid that it's going to be eliminated, withdrawn from them, or held back. And another point I'd like to ask is, people need to be aware that what's taking place in our government and our country, it's not going to be the Second Amendment, it's going to be removed from the Constitution, they're using the interpretation of the Second Amendment against us. They're saying now that it's not the individual's rights to bear arms, but it's the right to form a state militia. And they're going to use this in a form of confiscation of the individual's private firearms. Now, this is something that's taken place already in our country. In Toledo, Ohio, in the past, and I can't give you the years, but in the past several years, they have done practice mock-ups of martial law. Toledo forced the military to quit using their town because of all the civil disorder it caused when they came in and people were unaware. But just in the last 2 months, and I don't know when it took place, I believe it was within the last month, they had a town in the Midwest agreed to allow military to come in and practice a martial law scenario where they used the gun confiscation. People actually volunteered to resist and to go along with the process and allow the military to practice the collection of privately owned and carried firearms. Now this, I can't tell you where it happened. I wish I knew. I only heard one rumor of it, and I don't know exactly where it went on, but I do know for a fact that it did happen.
Well, Arcadia, Iowa, a couple of weeks ago, we reported they were doing exactly what you just said, Marines practicing gun confiscation along with the National Guard. We're seeing it more and more. In fact, our next story we're going to report here today is on mock terrorism response exercises in Arizona, where they're doing the same thing. And what this is, just like them putting the Army in the streets after the shooting in Alabama we were talking to Mr. Pratt about, it is to indoctrinate the American people to accept as normal seeing the Marines and the military in our streets, to as incrementalism slowly indoctrinate us to accept martial law scenarios. But I think you make some very good points. I had not thought about the RV campgrounds, that type of situation, but apparently you're traveling around the area and you're getting a perspective of exactly how bad things are getting.
Sure, and I can't tell you how amazed I was. I just came home from Florida, and in the south end of the United States, it looks like it's just an overgrowth of RVs. The parks are full of them right now. They just did a story on the Big Four News about how many people are living on the streets in California, and they're having to appropriate nighttime parking areas for the people that are living in their RVs. And folks, these are not guys, families that are homeless. These are folks that have lost their homes and have had to look for an alternative. And this is definitely happening. In that story, I heard Iowa too, and you just confirmed to me that the fact is that our government is doing this. You know, I reported here a couple weeks ago about the federal marshals and the troops from Fort Bragg have been practicing and setting up these scenarios for over a year. So it's going on right here in our own country.
Yes, sir. Well, I certainly do appreciate you calling. I think you've shared some very interesting information, and feel free to call back any time. I'll give you the last words or anything else you'd like to add today.
Thank you very much for this venue. We really do enjoy you guys, and I'd like to close with that call.
Hey, thank you very much. And
thank you.
Again, if you'd like to call in, 704-873-1400. Our Davie County number is 336-499-0681. I urge you to call in before right at the time we're going off the air. I would like to follow up with something that he was commenting on. Right now, mock terrorism response exercises start Monday. This is being reported by the East Valley Tribune, March 7, 2009. Valley residents may hear emergency sirens, see a flurry of helicopters flying overhead for 5 days, beginning on Monday. It's all in the name of training. It's the annual implementation of the Coyote Crisis Campaign, a mock terrorism response exercise for federal, state, and local agencies involving improvised explosive devices. 25 hospitals, as well as the Arizona National Guard, the Arizona Department of Transportation, Arizona Department of Homeland Security will participate, according to the press release issued by the Arizona Department of Public Safety. The exercise will begin Monday morning and test the Valley's readiness in response to responding to a terrorist attack on a county level. The drill will involve authorities responding to catastrophic scenarios.